My fiance wants to take a concubine before our wedding. That woman saved him when he fell off his horse, otherwise he might have been crippled. I don't oppose him repaying the favor, but I can't agree to him offering himself in marriage. Yet he turned around and blamed me for being unreasonable, saying a concubine is just a plaything, and taking her as a concubine is merely giving her a place to stay to repay the kindness. I laughed. If you want to repay the favor, then marry her. Turning your savior into a concubine, a plaything. Isn't that repaying kindness with enmity? He was overjoyed, thinking I agreed to let him marry that woman as an equal wife. Little did he expect that I would tear up the marriage contract and set him free. Song Boyuan and I have been engaged since childhood, growing up together as childhood sweethearts. Ever since I understood matters between men and women, I knew I would marry him when I grew up. He was born with a face like fine jade, tall and upright, standing out even among all the noble sons in the capital. We were well matched in status, and both the Jiang and Song families considered our marriage a natural course of events. Who could have imagined that the perfect husband in everyone's eyes would come to me before the wedding, asking me to agree to him taking a concubine first, and that concubine was his life-saving benefactor. Schweening, I hope you can be more sensible, Suzian. A concubine, born daughter from a merchant family, can't compare to you in any way. She just wants to rely on me to have a place to survive. I am taking her into the Marquis Manor to give her a shelter to repay her life-saving grace. Besides, a concubine is nothing but a plaything. You don't need to care about her at all. I looked at Song Boyuan's earnest eyes and suddenly felt he was so unfamiliar. Does repaying a debt of gratitude really mean you have to take her as a concubine? Can't you repay her in other ways? Her family wants to send her to be a concubine for a eunuch in charge of palace procurement. She came to me with tears streaming down her face, begging, saying she'd rather die than become a eunuch's concubine. I really couldn't bear it. Schwenning, can you really bear to watch the person who once saved my life die? Not agreeing to let him take a concubine means leaving someone to die. What a huge hat to pin on me. If she doesn't become a eunuch's concubine, she has to become yours. Can't she just not be a concubine at all? Isn't the power of our two families enough to protect her? When it comes down to it, her family is just after profit. Can't we give her family a sum of silver and stand up for her? Schweening, you've grown up pampered like a precious treasure since childhood. You can't imagine how hard life is for an unfavored shoe daughter. Her home is like a den of wolves and tigers. I just want to repay her kindness and save her from her sea of suffering. For the Marquis Manor, it is just one more mouth to feed, one more pair of chopsticks. Yet it could give her a peaceful life for the rest of her days. Can't you just treat it like keeping a cat or dog? I could tell that he was determined to take this concubine no matter what. Boyuan, every word you say is for her sake. But have you ever considered my situation? Which noble lady in this capital has her husband taken a concubine before the wedding? And this concubine of yours is also your savior. From now on, should the Marquis Manor treat her as a savior or as a concubine? A savior must be respected, while a concubine is nothing more than a servant. Song Boyuan blurted out, Xian saved my life, so of course she should be treated as a savior. Hearing this, I was utterly disappointed. If you want to repay her kindness, then marry her. Making your savior a concubine and turning her into a plaything. Isn't that repaying kindness with cruelty? Song Boyuan's face lit up with joy. Schwenning, I knew you were the most reasonable person and wouldn't make things difficult for me. Instead of playing the understanding wife, our girl chose violence. And by violence, I mean tearing up that prenup. Song Boyuan really thought he could gaslight her into a sister-wife situation before the honeymoon. The sheer audacity. I love that Schweening didn't cry or beg. She just hit cancel subscription on this dusty fiancé, ladies. If a man tells you to treat his new live-in mistress like a cat or dog, throw the whole man out. I turned around, took out the marriage contract and tore it in half. Since you want to offer yourself to repay the life-saving grace, then I'll help make it happen. You are completely unreasonable. Seeing me tear up the marriage contract, Song Boyuan stormed off in anger. The next day, the entire Song family of Marquis Wuning came to our door. The elders from both sides thought it was just a young couple's quarrel and chided me for treating the marriage contract as a joke. But I firmly declared that I wanted to break off the engagement. Zhang Schweening, can you stop making a scene? Suzian is just a merchant's daughter. How many times do I have to tell you? I am only taking her as a concubine to repay the life, saving grace. Seeing me insist on breaking off the engagement, Song Boyan thought I was still throwing a tantrum at him, seeing his gloomy face as if all of this was my fault. I couldn't help but feel furious. Song Boyuan, what do you mean I should stop making a fuss? You want to take a concubine before our wedding and I don't agree. You insist on taking one, so I agree to break off the engagement. Is that making a fuss? Song Boyuan's face alternated between pale and flushed. No matter what, it is wrong for you to tear up the marriage contract. We could have discussed whatever issues there were. You just went ahead and tore it up. Where does that leave the bond between us? The bond between the Jiang and Song families. You've been entangled with Suzian for 2 years, and now you want to take her as a concubine before our wedding. Is this how much you value the bond between the Jiang and Song families? I didn't want to argue with him. The bond between our two families had been built up over the previous generation, and I didn't want us to become estranged because the marriage fell through. When I tore up the marriage contract yesterday, I was still thinking about how to dissolve this engagement gracefully. Fearing my parents would be angry, I hadn't revealed the details yet, but since he kept pressing me relentlessly about my wrongdoing, then let's lay it all out for both families to see whether I was wrong to tear up this marriage contract. What Suzian? What concubine, Boyuan? You promised that unless you had no sons, you would never take a concubine in your lifetime. Now you want to take a concubine before the wedding. Upon hearing me reveal the reason, Mother immediately questioned Song Boyuan. Aunt Yun, please let me explain. This woman named Su Zian saved my life. If not for her, I would have been dead or crippled. If you want to repay a favor, then repay it. What kind of favor can't be repaid with money, wealth, or power, that you must take her as a concubine? After saying this, Mother looked at Madame Bai, the wife of Marquis Wuning, her close friend. Seeing my mother getting angry, Madame Bai immediately chimed in. Exactly, I've never heard of taking a concubine to repay a favor. This is absolutely ridiculous. Seeing that her good friend knew how to read the room, my mother's expression softened slightly. Song Boyuan defended himself. She is an unfavored, illegitimate daughter from a merchant family. Taking her as a concubine gives her a place to stay, so she won't be sent off by her family as a social bargaining chip to become some old eunuch's concubine. This is nothing but a small effort for me. Why can't Schweening be more tolerant? Oh, so you are saying this is Schweening's fault? My mother was displeased. Song Boyuan was at a loss for words. I questioned him. Ever since she saved you, items she gave you kept appearing on you from time to time. You said there was a life-saving debt involved, and you felt too embarrassed to refuse her thoughtful gestures. I believed you. You two are of different statuses. I thought as long as your heart and conduct were upright, once she saw clearly that you had no feelings for her, she would naturally lose interest. So I never asked about things between you and her. But after 2 years, can't she see whether you have feelings for her or not? You want to bring her into the Marquise's residence before our wedding. Where does that leave my dignity? There are priorities in all matters. Xian's family wanted to give her to a eunuch as a concubine. She has a fierce temperament, and said she'd rather die with dignity than become a eunuch's concubine. I was afraid she'd take her own life, so I agreed to take her into my household. You and I grew up together. Who in the entire capital doesn't know you are my unwedded wife? You should be of one heart with me as husband and wife except Suzian, and help me repay this debt of gratitude. This should have been a perfect solution for everyone. Why must you be so aggressive and insist on breaking off the engagement? Song Boyuan always believed he wasn't wrong. His stubborn obstinacy exhausted my heart. I didn't want to argue with him anymore. Of one heart as husband and wife. You speak too soon. Since you want to repay her by giving her someone to rely on, then marry her as your wife. I am willing to help make this match from now on. The engagement is void. We'll each marry separately and have nothing to do with each other. You marry what marry? How could our dignified Wuning Marquis manor marry a merchant family's illegitimate daughter? Weaning, don't be upset. Auntie will deal with him for you. This Suzian absolutely cannot step through the doors of our manor, Lady Bai said, as she took my hand. If yesterday when I tore up the marriage contract, I was angry at him but still thinking of our old feelings, then today when he came acting all righteous to accuse me of being intolerant and inconsiderate, he extinguished the last bit of willingness to tolerate him in my heart. I was thinking about how to withdraw my hand without being obvious when he exploded. Mother, I've already promised Xian to take her as a concubine. A gentleman's word is his bond. No one can stop her from entering the Marquise's residence. If Jiang Xuening wants to make a scene, let her. I am determined to take Suzy on. After saying that, he cupped his hands toward my parents, turned around and left without looking back. My mother's face turned red with anger from his words. Madame Bai wanted to comfort her but didn't know where to start. The Marquis of Wuning awkwardly cleared his throat. My foolish son is unruly. I've made brother Jiang and sister-in-law laugh at us. I'll definitely give him a beating when we return to the residence. My father snorted coldly. I wonder who Boyuan inherited this philandering nature from? The Marquis of Wuning said sheepishly. Blame me, blame me. I failed to discipline my son properly. After saying that, his eyes secretly glanced at Madame Bai's expression. The atmosphere fell into awkwardness for a moment. Song Boyuan's sister Song Feiyan was my good sister. At this moment, she came forward and held my arm. Xuening, don't worry. You are the only sister-in-law I recognize. I won't acknowledge anyone else. Even if you and my brother quarrel, I'll always stand on your side and help you. I tapped her nose. I am not throwing a tantrum. I really am going to break off the engagement with your brother. We've been close since childhood. Even if the marriage between your brother and me doesn't work out, we'll still be good sisters, and I'll still treat him like a brother. These words were also meant for the Marquis and Marchioness of Wuning to hear. After hearing my words, Madame Bai also felt that Song Boyuan's behavior today was rather absurd. After exchanging some pleasantries, they left. After they left, father and mother came to comfort me, asking if I truly wanted to break off the engagement, or just to scare Song Boyuan. I let out a sigh. Not long after Suzian saved Song Boyuan, I noticed her. She would secretly peek at me at every occasion where she could see me. At first I thought she was there to see Song Boyuan, because Song Boyuan often brought his sister Song Feiyan along when accompanying me shopping. Until my gaze met hers, and I saw resentment and provocation in her eyes. My childhood engagement with Song Boyuan was arranged since we were little, and I had gotten used to treating Song Boyuan as my possession. It would be a lie to say I wasn't bothered by someone eyeing what is mine. After hinting around a few times, every time Song Boyuan mentioned Suzian's attentiveness, he wore a helpless expression, saying he was tired of it, but couldn't refuse because of the life-saving debt. I naively thought that as long as Song Boyuan wasn't interested, Suzian would naturally back off. I didn't expect them to be entangled for 2 years, and now she is about to officially enter his household. Better not to eat this half-cooked rice. I firmed my resolve to break off the engagement. I told my parents everything from beginning to end, telling them I was determined to break off the engagement. Mother stroked my head and said, Ninger, don't worry. Even if breaking off the engagement affects the Jiang family's reputation, that can't compare to your happiness. As long as you want to break it off, we'll break it off. With my parents' support, I waited at ease for both families to return the betrothal tokens and dissolve the engagement. That day, father came back fuming, and even smashed things. I guessed he might have gotten angry at the Marquis of Wuning's residence, so I went to ask father about it. Father said resentfully, like father, like son, the fish rots from the head. Marquis Wuning tried to persuade me that since his son insists on taking a concubine, why not just let him take that woman? It would even show how magnanimous and tolerant our Xuening is. If we break off the engagement, Xuening might have trouble finding a husband in the future. After all, everyone among the noble families in the capital knows about the childhood betrothal between our two families. I helped father calm down. Whether my marriage prospects are difficult or not is none of their business. If I can't marry out, my parents will support me for life. Right, Dad? Father's expression eased slightly as he continued. The Marchioness is quite reasonable, though. Seeing that the Marquise's words upset me, she kept apologizing profusely. I told Marquis Wuning, the engagement is off. His son taking concubines, however many concubines, whether they're benefactors or enemies, none of it has anything to do with our Jiang family. Whether my daughter has trouble with marriage in the future is also none of his concern. What about the betrothal tokens? Did you get them back? Mother hurriedly asked. Father shook his head and sighed. Marquis Wuning and Lady Bai didn't agree to break off the engagement. This also shows their regard for our Xuening. After all, they've watched her grow up since she was little, and now she has blossomed into someone both talented and beautiful. I can understand why they're unwilling to break off the engagement. If they had agreed on the spot, I would actually feel embarrassed. Mother spat. What does your face matter? Look at this family. The young one wants to take a concubine before the wedding. Isn't this slapping our Zhang family in the face? The elders can't control the younger one, and instead they threaten us by saying Xuaning's marriage prospects will be difficult after the engagement is broken off, trying to make Xuaning agree to him taking a concubine. I sent you to return the betrothal tokens, and you couldn't even do that properly. Give me the tokens. I'll go myself. Seeing Mother getting worked up, Father hurriedly said, Look, I haven't finished speaking yet. Don't get anxious first. I've already left the betrothal token that Lady Bai gave us at the Marquis's residence. In a few days, you can go to Lady Bai's place to retrieve the crystal ruyi you gave. I reckon Lady Bai's personal friendship with you wouldn't stoop to withholding the token. This way, the engagement will be clearly broken off. Mother nodded after hearing this. Just as Mother was thinking about what day to visit and retrieve the token, Song Feiyan sent me an invitation. 3 days later was her birthday. Mother thought it over and decided to accompany me. We young girls would play together, while she would go catch up with Lady Bai and conveniently retrieve the token. I carefully prepared a gift for Song Feiyan, and Mother also made some pastries for Lady Bai after. Arriving at the Marquis's manor, I paid respects to Madame Bai. Madame Bai's face lit up with joy when she saw the pastries my mother made for her. I left the old sisters to catch up and went with Song Feiyan to her courtyard to hang out. The Wuning Marquis's manor had enjoyed imperial favor for generations without decline. The manor covered a vast area, with pavilions and towers, and winding paths leading to secluded spots. The garden was lush with flowers and trees dotted with artificial hills, and fed by flowing water. Song Feiyan dumped out all the little trinkets she'd recently acquired to show off to me. While we played with them together, she told me to pick whatever I liked and take them. Just when we were having the most fun, a maidservant from Song Boyuan's side came and called Song Feiyan away. My brother's calling me, probably too embarrassed to come over since you are here. Maybe he wants to give me my birthday gift. I'll go check and be right back. Don't you like big pearls? I have a box of them here. See if any catch your eye. She handed me a box and left with the maidservant. I opened the box, and sure enough, they were top-quality pearls, big and round. I decided not to be polite with her and started picking carefully. Just then, that maidservant from earlier came back. Miss Zhang, my young lady, says she is waiting for you in the garden and wants to stroll the grounds with you. I didn't suspect anything, grabbed the pearls hastily back into the box, and let her lead the way. When we reached the garden, the maidservant pointed to the pavilion by the lotus pond, saying Song Feiyan was there cooling off and waiting for me. I saw a figure in the distance leaning against the railing in the pavilion, so I walked over quickly. Only when I got closer did I realize that this figure looked somewhat slender. It wasn't Song Feiyan. The woman turned around and smiled at me. It was actually Su Ziyan. She had a cold and aloof temperament, with eyes as dark as drops of ink. The pleading look in her eyes was truly pitiable to behold. Miss Jiang, I have something to ask of you. I had no choice but to trick you into coming here to meet me. I hope you won't blame me. I couldn't help but secretly admire her. In just a few days, she had already established herself so well that she could order around the senior maidservants by Song Boyuan's side in the Marquis of Wuning's residence. Song Boyuan and I have already broken off our engagement. Whatever is between you and him has nothing to do with me anymore. You don't need to ask me for anything. My expression was cold. Miss Jiang, please don't be angry with Boyuan anymore. How can you so easily break off an engagement when you two grew up as childhood sweethearts? You've been cherished by your parents since you were little, raised like a precious pearl. But I am just an unfavored, illegitimate daughter. If Boyuan hadn't taken me in, my family would have sent me to be a concubine for an old eunuch. I beg you, please have pity on me and agree to let Boyuan keep me. Before I could even organize my thoughts on how to refuse, she quickly stepped forward and made as if to kneel before me. I hurriedly reached out to stop her, but unexpectedly she stumbled while getting up and fell backward. I frantically reached out to grab her, but she used the force of pushing my hand away to fall backward into the lotus pond. Hearing the splash as she fell into the water, I was stunned. In a flash I came to my senses, about to call my maid Shouty to save her, but before the words left my mouth, Song Boyuan rushed over, shouting, "Zian!" Without hesitation, He jumped into the lotus pond and fished her out, looking at the two of them drenched, like drowned rats. Then looking at this scene, I belatedly realized I had fallen into a trap. Everything was just too perfect. She just happened to fall into the water. There was tugging between our hands before she fell, and Song Boyuan just happened to pass by and rush over to save her. And because I wanted to have a private chat with Song Feiyan and gossip about the capital, I had left my maid at the corridor by the rockery and entered the pavilion alone. Now, I didn't even have a witness. Zhang Xuaning, I didn't expect you to be so vicious. Sure enough, Song Boyan gnashed his teeth at me. Song Boyuan, if I say I didn't push her, you definitely won't believe me. I can't be bothered to defend myself for something I didn't do. As for how she fell into that pond, she knows perfectly well herself. I thought to myself, Suzian really taught me a lesson today. Even if I can't learn this kind of trick, after this incident, I'll be on guard in the future. Song Boyuan was about to accuse me further when Suzian spat out some water and said weakly, Boyuan, don't blame Miss Zhang. It was my own carelessness. I lost my footing. She didn't push me. After saying that, she started coughing again. Song Boyuan hurriedly picked her up and shouted for the servant to fetch a doctor. These two are really a perfect match. One with wicked intentions tricked me here to frame me, and the other, blind as a bat, came up and blamed me right away. I watched as Song Boyuan carried Suzian back to his courtyard. Song Boyuan even turned back and gave me a look that said, just you wait. Unable to find Song Feiyan, I had no choice but to go back to Madame Hobai's courtyard to look for my mother. As soon as I stepped through the door, I heard Song Feiyan's hearty laughter. She even asked why it took so long to come. She had barely left when she ran into Madame Bai's maidservant coming to call us to the main courtyard for dinner. She planned to stop by Song Boyuan's courtyard first, so she sent that maid in to notify me. That maid was acting on Suzian's orders to trick me into going there. This was like handing a pillow to someone who is sleepy. Thinking about that last look Song Boyuan gave me, it didn't seem like he was going to let this go easily, so I told everyone about what just happened. Shouty didn't enter the pavilion with me at the time. From start to finish, there were only us three. Brother Boyuan was certain that I pushed Suzian into the water. If I had done it, I'd own up to it like a true hero, but I didn't push her. She came over pretending she was going to kneel to me. I reached out to help her up, and she used that momentum to pull on me and fell into the pond herself. After I finished, I observed Madame Bai. As long as she believed me, Song Boyuan couldn't stir up much trouble over this. As for whether Song Boyuan believed me or not, I had already stopped caring since I decided to break off the engagement. After Madame Bai heard me out, she hurriedly said, "Good girl, she didn't scare you, did she? Sigh. These illegitimate daughters raised by petty households don't learn anything useful, only learn these lowly tricks to steal men." I calmed myself down and said I wasn't scared. My mother asked, how did this Suzian end up living in the Marquise's manor? Just a few days ago, Madame Bai had said she would absolutely never let this Suzian into the manor, yet we ran into her today, and she even put on such a scene. Madame Bai sighed. That day after returning from your residence, the Marquis was seething with anger and gave Boyuan a beating with the paddle. Boyuan ran off and didn't come back all night. When he returned, he brought this woman into the manor. I was afraid the Marquis would get angry and beat him again if he saw her, so I didn't make a fuss. I thought I'd persuade him gently to at least settle her outside first. She couldn't stay in the manor. Saying this, she glanced at my mother's expression, took a sip of water and continued, "Who would have thought? The moment this woman heard I wanted Boyuan to settle her outside, she immediately started threatening to kill herself. I knew she was acting, but Boyuan believed her. I was also afraid that if something went wrong and she ended up actually dying in the Marquise's manor from her own scheming gone awry, it would be bad luck too. So I didn't pursue it further." My mother looked at Madame Bai and sneered. "Then what did the Marquise say? Don't tell me your Marquise still doesn't know about this." Madame Bai smiled apologetically. "How could I lie to you? I didn't mention it before because I didn't want to affect your mood. As for the Marquise, I don't know what kind of promise Boyuan made to his father. But anyway, his father tacitly approved it." After saying this, seeing my mother's displeased expression, she got up and went to the inner room to take out a Nanmu wooden box. "Kyun, this is the betrothal token from when our two families arranged the engagement. I know you came today for this. No matter how unwilling I am to break off this marriage, no matter how reluctant I am to let go of Xuening, Things have come to this point and I am too embarrassed to keep holding on to it. That child Boyuan has fallen for that Suzion's tricks, like he is gone mad. The Song family only has this one heir, and I spoiled him too much. If Boyuan ever comes to his senses someday, I'll bring him to your door to apologize. Song Feiyan understood that her mother had returned the betrothal token. Seeing that the marriage between our two families wasn't going to happen, she was so anxious that tears fell from her eyes. Mother, how could you actually return the token? Do you want that vixen to become my sister-in-law? P2E. I hurriedly comforted her. Even if I don't become your sister-in-law, won't we still be just as close? No matter who your brother marries as your sister-in-law, you and I will always be the best of friends in the world. Song Feiyan had a cheerful personality, and just a couple of kind words coaxed her from tears to laughter. Madame Bai and my mother saw Feiyan and me chatting and laughing without any grudges, and the tense atmosphere of the broken engagement eased quite a bit. Just as the atmosphere was about to become harmonious, Song Boyuan came storming in. Xuening, come with me. I looked puzzled. Why do you want me to go with you? Seeing that I had no intention of moving. His expression turned even uglier. Are you playing dumb with me? You haven't forgotten what you did at Lionting, have you? Come with me to apologize to Xion, and I'll forgive you this once. I won't apologize for something I didn't do. Song Boyan, watch your tone with me. I looked at him indifferently. Lady Bai also scolded, Boyuan, don't be rude. But Song Boyuan ignored her completely, stepped forward and grabbed my wrist, trying to drag me out. I swung my elbows left and right with all my strength but couldn't break free, stumbling as he pulled me. He sensed something and turned back to look at me. I seized the opportunity to struggle backward with all my might, and my whole body fell to the ground. Song Feiyan ran over to help me up. I cried out, ouch, in pain. My foot got twisted when I fell just now. Lady Bai and my mother immediately rushed over to check on me. My ankle was already red and swollen, but Song Boyuan smiled with a dark expression. Zhongning Shui, today you've really made me see your scheming nature anew. You bullied Xion and refused to admit it, and now you are pretending to be injured to avoid responsibility. If it weren't for Xion, I still wouldn't have seen your true face. Weren't you clamoring to break off the engagement? I agree. Someone of your character doesn't deserve to be the principal wife of our Marquis of Wuning's household. I was enduring the pain while my mouth wasn't idle either. Right, I don't deserve it. Su Xion and you are the perfect match. You two are truly made for each other. I held back from swearing. Song Boyuan still wanted to argue with me, but the servant beside him caught Madame Bai's look and dragged him out. Although this trip to the Marquise's residence was a bit convoluted and I suffered some grievances, at least my goal was achieved, so it wasn't too much of a loss. After returning home, I discussed with Mother and only told Father that I accidentally sprained it myself, then rested at home to recover with peace of mind. I asked Mother. Su Xion made such a fuss, choked on a belly full of water herself and didn't even hurt me, so what was the point? Mother patted my head. Silly child, she doesn't dare to hurt you, so she hurt herself to frame you instead. Think about what she pulled off. First she made Boyuan misunderstand you, then she brought her presence in the Marquise's residence into the open, letting everyone know how much weight she holds in Boyuan's heart. At the same time, Boyuan was rude to you for her sake, which will definitely lead to your engagement being called off. These were all her goals. I nodded, my brain feeling a bit overwhelmed. After resting at home for 2 days, I got groggy during my afternoon nap and forgot about my injured foot. When I got up, I put my injured foot down first and ended up spraining it again. This time it was serious. The doctor said I had injured the tendons and bones and put a thick splint on me. Madame Bai and Song Feiyan heard that my foot injury had gotten worse and came to visit me. The doctor told me to stay in bed for a month. Lying in bed every day was too boring, so I asked Song Feiyan to come keep me company whenever she was free. Whenever she came over, she would report every little detail about her brother and Su Xion's every move to me, whether I wanted to hear it or not. After she said so much, I couldn't help but ask curiously, so has your brother started staying in her courtyard now? Song Feiyan thought about it. Not really, my brother isn't the lustful type to begin with, and the maids serving him are all proper. I couldn't help but admire Suzian. Although marrying Song Boyuan to become the main wife of the Marquis' household was unrealistic for her, what she sought wasn't as simple as being a concubine. Madame Bai would come visit me every few days, and this time Song Boyuan actually came along too. If it were all women, I could lie down at ease, but seeing him enter the room, I had Shouty help me sit up. He glanced at my elevated, splinted injured foot, and said in a muffled voice, "Schwenning, you don't need to rush to get up, just lean back. Regardless of what you did, as your elder brother, when I saw you doing wrong, I should have taught you, not injured you. Rest well and recover. This is medicine I got from a prescription at the Imperial Medical Academy," he said, and put down a packet of medicine. Hearing this, I felt so angry that my foot injury was about to heal from sheer rage. I really wanted to jump up and beat him. After putting down the medicine packet, his gaze toward me carried a hint of pity. My mother, Madame Bai, was in the room. Song Boyuan had come with good intentions to visit, and spoke soft words. If I said anything harsh, it would be disrespectful to the Marquis's household. But his line about if I was wrong, you should teach me, made me choke on my own blood. I didn't speak for a long while, then he continued, "Schwenning, you are not speaking because you know you were wrong, right? It is good that you admit your mistake. I won't really hold it against you. I know you didn't truly want to break off the engagement. You were just angry with me. Don't worry, I've already consoled Xian. Let's just put this matter behind us. We can go back to how things were before." I really couldn't listen anymore. I grabbed the bed curtain and sat up. "I'll accept the medicine, and I acknowledge your apology. But I did nothing wrong, so there is nothing to admit. Whether you hold it against me or not, the engagement has already been called off. We have nothing to do with each other anymore. Schwenning, stop making a scene. Okay, you are hurt and it truly pains me. But Xian is a pitiful soul. She saved my life. How can I just stand by and do nothing when she is in trouble? I never stopped you from helping her or saving her. You could have helped her in so many ways, but you insisted on taking her as a concubine. Something I cannot accept. Since you made that choice, it was only right for me to propose breaking off the engagement. Can't you be a little more tolerant toward her, Schwenning? I've always considered you the most important person in my heart, but saving her is a matter of life and death. Can't you just accept her for my sake? Song Boyuan, we've already broken off our engagement. Your affairs have nothing to do with me anymore. I don't want to argue with you about this any longer. I gave the order to see him out. Shouty, take the young master to the front hall for tea. After that day, Madame Bai and Song Feiyan still came to visit frequently, but Song Boyuan never came back to invite another snub. The new year was approaching, and my birthday was in the 12th lunar month. In previous years, the house would be especially lively around this time. I would send out invitations for my birthday to invite all my close girlfriends over to celebrate, and Song Boyuan would bring his friends along too. This year, with all the fuss over breaking off the engagement with him and my foot injury, I had no heart to hold a birthday banquet. I didn't send out invitations, but as my birthday approached, I still received quite a few gifts. Among them was one from Song Boyuan. After the new year, my foot could touch the ground again, but the sprained foot couldn't bear much weight, so I walked with a slight limp. Having been cooped up for a month, I invited Song Feiyan to view the lanterns together on the Lantern Festival. Ningshui, I should have given you a big gourd for your birthday. Song Feiyan teased. Why? I was puzzled. Song Feiyan laughed so hard she nearly fell over. With the way you look now, add a big gourd on your back and you'd be just like Iron Crutch Lee. Oh, you, instead of feeling sorry for me, you are making fun of me. You have no idea how miserable it was being stuck in bed. I made a move to tickle her. The two of us chatted and laughed while viewing the lanterns, feeling incredibly cheerful. From afar, I could see the lantern display at Guangyuan Pavilion, with quite a crowd already gathered below to guess the lantern riddles. Neither Song Feiyan nor I had the brains for riddle. Guessing in previous years, Song Boyuan would solve 1 or 2 riddles and win lanterns for the both of us. This year, without Song Boyuan accompanying us, there was no way we'd get any lanterns, so we were just going to watch the fun. The closer we walked, the more we could hear the cheering for correct answers. When Song Feiyan and I pushed through the crowd to reach the lantern display, we happened to see Song Boyuan challenging the lantern riddles to win a smile from a beauty. Under the dazzling lantern display, Suzian nestled beside Song Boyuan, pointing at the rabbit lantern at the very top. That was tonight's King of Lanterns, which could only be won by solving the final riddle. I followed Suzian's pointing finger and looked at that rabbit lantern. Its shape was adorably cute, and the rabbit's eyes were actually inlaid with 2 rubies, showing its exquisite craftsmanship. This rabbit lantern is really lovely. I kind of want it too, Sai, I murmured. Fayin snickered. Who told you to dump my brother? I bet tonight this lantern is probably gonna end up in that vixen's hands. She lifted her chin in that direction as she spoke. I looked in that direction, and my gaze happened to meet Song Boyuan's. He glanced at me, then seamlessly turned around to adjust Suzian's cloak, as if deliberately trying to annoy me. I mentally scoffed, as if anyone cares about you. It is precisely because he doesn't take you seriously that he can so calmly stand here watching you solve lantern riddles for a beauty. There is a threshold to guessing the Lantern King's riddles. You have to solve them level by level, starting from the bottom of the Lantern Mountain. Only after getting all the ones below correct are you qualified to guess the Lantern King's riddle. As Song Boyuan solved the riddles up to the level just below the Lantern King, cheers and applause erupted around him one after another. Song Feiyan and I were also watching with great interest, though I felt a bit conflicted inside. Although the engagement was called off, our 2 families are still old friends, so I should hope he gets the answer right. But I was also afraid that if he got it right and won the Lantern King, he'd use it to show off. Just as the steward was about to hand the tray holding the Lantern King's riddle to Song Boyuan for him to answer, a young man in white used lightness skills to step on the lanterns, light as a swallow, reaching the top of the 3-jang, high lantern mountain in the blink of an eye. He plucked down the rabbit Lantern King, turned around, and with a few rises and falls landed lightly on the ground. The onlookers were in an uproar. Song Feiyan and I watched her embarrassed brother, while listening to the crowd's chattering explanations, and only then learned that apparently the Lantern King could be won through either the scholarly method or the martial method. The scholarly method naturally means following the rules and answering the riddles correctly, while the martial method requires using lightness skills without any external aid, taking down the Lantern King without damaging the Lantern Mountain. There are many talented scholars at the foot of the imperial capital, and in recent years the Lantern King has always been won through literary talent in riddle solving, so much so that everyone had forgotten there was still the martial method rule. After a brief moment of whispering, the steward of Guangyuan Pavilion announced that the Lantern King title went to young General Shen Fei. Talk about an upgrade. Boyuan is sweating, trying to solve riddles to impress his side piece. But in swoops General Shen, a literal martial arts god with a killer smile, who parkours his way to the top. And then, he hands the prize straight to our girl while the ex watches, fuming. This is pure calm gold. Who needs a cheating scholar when you can have a green flag general who sweeps you off your feet and buys your favorite snacks? Everyone cheered in unison and Song Feiyan, and I also sincerely applauded this young General Shen's skills. Song Boyuan originally only needed to answer the last question correctly to win this lantern for his beauty, but young General Shen cut in and stole his thunder. Already in a sour mood, seeing everyone cheering made his face darken even more, and he left with his arm around Suzian. Just as I was laughing with schadenfreude, that adorably silly rabbit Lantern King was handed right to me. I looked at the rabbit lantern, then at young General Shen before me, but really couldn't recall when we'd ever met. For me? I asked dumbly. Shen Fei smiled, revealing his little tiger teeth. It was the first time I'd seen a man with such a beautiful smile. His smile seemed capable of melting all the ice and snow of this freezing winter day. Weren't you just staring at it longingly? I won it just for you, here, he said as he handed it to me. I took the rabbit lantern, and the crowd of onlookers around us burst into cheers and teasing again. I had originally planned to just watch the fun, but suddenly I became the center of attention. It made me afraid to move, worried he'd notice my lame leg. Song Boyuan, who hadn't gone far yet, saw that the person who stole his thunder and won the Lantern King had actually given the lantern to me. His face darkened even more. After thinking about it, I still asked, "Do we know each other?" Shen Jianshan said, looking hurt. "You actually don't remember me." Then he leaned in and whispered, "You even said you'd marry me." I let out an, "Ah," and he laughed again, showing his little tiger teeth. "But that was when you were little," he said with a smile. "My father is General Shen Jianshan of the Northern Pacification Army. I visited your home when I was young." I let out an "oh," but actually still couldn't remember, watching the crowd gradually disperse after the Lantern King was taken down. I wondered why he still hadn't said goodbye. Otherwise, my limping with every step would be really unsightly. But he was oblivious. "Miss Jiang, you've accepted my lantern. Won't you invite me to enjoy the lanterns together?" "Sure, let's go together." Song Feiyan knew when to jump in with an answer. I had no choice but to endure my limp and walk slowly, trying to keep my steps as steady as possible. Song Feiyan leaned close to my ear. "Never thought this lantern could cure your limp." I stomped my foot in embarrassment. Ouch. Song Feiyan and Shen Fei burst into laughter together. It turned out Shen Fei had already seen that I was limping and knew I was faking it now. A few days after the Lantern Festival, Shen Fei came to visit again. He came with his father, General Shen. Shen Jianshan and my father were close friends, but there had been continuous wars in the north over the years. Now that the north was finally pacified, he had returned to the capital. General Shen was a rough and bold man, casual in his conversation and laughter. When the talk got lively, he'd burst into hearty laughter, chatting animatedly with my father. Mother also kept smiling the whole time, looking very spirited. She would touch my forehead from time to time, gazing at me like she was admiring a prized masterpiece, which left me utterly baffled. Shen Fei was a man, so I couldn't ask him to go play with me elsewhere. I had no choice but to patiently sit and keep them company. General Shen chatted with my parents until both host and guests were thoroughly pleased, and only left after having a meal. Only I ended up with an aching back, but Shen Fei was sensible enough to give me a box of candies and preserved fruits from the north. I was just holding the box, planning to taste his thoughtfulness, when Mother came back happily after seeing off the guests, even humming a tune, which was rare for her. "My good daughter, let's see who dares say that women have difficulty marrying after breaking off an engagement." I was planning to wait a bit before spreading the news about breaking off the engagement with the Song family. Yet someone has already come to ask for your hand. "Huh? Ask to marry who?" After my surprise, I recalled Shen Fei's expression just now and finally realized the core topic of that pleasant conversation between host and guests was actually me. Who else would they ask to marry? "You are the only little troublemaker I gave birth to." That General Shen is quite humorous too. He mentioned when you were little, he brought Shen Fei to our home to play. You climbed too high up a tree and couldn't get down, which scared Shen Fei to tears. Later you jumped down from the tree and Shen Fei caught you. When he asked how you'd repay him for saving your life, you said you'd marry Shen Fei, but he had to wipe his snot clean first. Was I really so lacking in modesty when I was little? I really couldn't remember at all. I heard Shen Fei picked the Lantern King from Guangyuan Pavilion on the Lantern Festival and gave it to you. What do you think of Shen Fei? Mother asked. He is quite good looking. I thought for a moment and said. Mother tapped my forehead. You can't just look at appearances, you also need to look at character. Oh, I don't know about his character. I am not familiar with him, I mumbled. You should take a good look, your marriage can't afford any more mistakes, Mother said solemnly. With my parents' tacit approval, Shen Fei often came to visit, bringing my favorite snacks or gifts every time. The original trio of the Song siblings and me became Shen Fei, Song Feiyan and me. This day, Song Feiyan and I made plans to burn incense at Huayan Temple in the outskirts of the capital. But actually we just wanted to go on a spring outing. When Shen Fei heard about it, he wanted to accompany us. Mother felt it was safer to have Shen Fei, this highly skilled young general, escort us, so it was arranged that the three of us would go together. As fate would have it, we ran into Song Boyuan and Suzian at the temple. I thought Song Boyuan would avoid me upon seeing me. Unexpectedly, after saying a few words to Suzian, he walked over. Xuaning, come here for a moment. I have something to say to you. He beckoned to me. I was afraid he would try to persuade me to accept his Miss Xian again. Too lazy to talk much with him, I didn't move my feet. Brother Boyuan, just say what you need to say here. I am tired and don't want to walk around. Song Boyuan's expression was displeased. If that is the case, then I'll trouble you two to step aside for a moment. He glanced at Shen Fei and Song Feiyan as he spoke. Song Feiyan obediently retreated to the side, but upon hearing this, Shen Fei instead walked over to my side. Miss Jiang told you to say whatever you have to say right here. What unspeakable things do you have that require us to step aside? You dare say such unspeakable things, but Miss Jiang may not dare to listen. Shen Fei, you are being insolent. Song Boyuan was furious. You are the one being insolent, Song Boyuan. You bring a beauty along and still come to harass others. I really didn't expect you to be so thick-skinned. Seeing that the two of them were about to come to blows, I had no choice but to agree to speak with him alone for a bit. Shen Fei reluctantly walked to the side. Song Boyuan actually came forward to grab my hand, but I dodged away. Schweening, you've always been in my heart. Are you really going to be so heartless about the bond we've shared growing up together? Xian has a cautious and timid personality. She couldn't possibly threaten you at all. Can't you just accept her? His attitude of wanting to have it all and making it my fault if I don't agree really disgusted me. Brother Boyuan, please don't say these things to me anymore. We've already broken off our engagement. I sincerely hope you and Miss Xian can be happy, I said sincerely. Schweening, please stop being upset. Okay, how about this? I'll settle Xian outside first, and after our wedding, I'll bring her into the residence. Didn't you think that taking a concubine before the wedding would make you lose face? Xian is sensible and will definitely agree, Song Boyuan said anxiously. Song Boyuan, I am telling you seriously, I am not throwing a tantrum at you, and when I said I wanted to break off the engagement, it was never about competing with Su Xian. Now we're just friends, so please stop saying these ridiculous things to me. I looked into his eyes and said earnestly, Jiang Xuening, have you fallen for that Shen Fei? I really didn't expect you to be such a fickle person. Song Boyuan looked disappointed. I laughed. Who is really the fickle one here? Think whatever you want. What I do has nothing to do with you. After saying that, I turned to leave. Song Boyuan grabbed my arm and pulled me back. Nothing to do with you. You've been my fiancé since we were children, and you say it has nothing to do with me. Let go of me. We've already broken off the engagement. You are going to marry your Su Xian, so why are you acting crazy at me? I struggled hard to break free from him. At that moment, Shen Fei rushed over and punched Song Boyuan right away. Song Boyuan winced in pain and immediately fought back. The two of them started fighting. Song Feiyan and I hurried over to break them up, and Su Xian came running over when she heard the commotion. The two of them were at least sensible, afraid of hurting the three of us, so they separated after we pulled at them a few times. Song Boyuan's face was bruised from Shen Fei's punch. The more he thought about it, the more he couldn't save face. So he left Su Ziwei to take the carriage while he rode his horse down the mountain first. About half a shichen after the two of them finished fighting, we heard rumbling thunder, and before long it started pouring rain. The three of us plus Su Xian were all stranded on the mountain by the rain. The rain kept falling until evening before it gradually subsided. Seeing the rain lighten, the pilgrims on the mountain began to descend. Su Xian must have been worried about Song Boyuan's injuries. She had already left ahead of us when we descended the mountain. When our carriage reached the turn at the foot of the mountain, we saw a large tree lying across the mountain path, with two overturned carriages beside it. Su Xian and her maid, along with several well-dressed servant women, were hiding by the roadside. The rain had lessened by then, but was still pattering down. I stopped the carriage and took Su Xian aboard. The other servant women were put on the carriage behind us with me and Song Feiyan's maids. Su Xian was soaked from head to toe, shivering from the cold. Shen Fei felt it improper to look and didn't dare turn his head inside the carriage. I took my cloak and wrapped it around her, then sent her and Song Feiyan back to the residence together. Shen Fei said he got beaten by Song Boyuan while protecting me, and shamelessly came to my house, asking me to apply medicine for him. I asked him where he was hurt. He pointed at his chest, and I went right up and tore his clothes open. I picked up the bruise ointment and applied it on him. Hey, did you even see where the injury is before touching randomly? He couldn't quite handle how I applied medicine on him without any bashfulness. You woman, stripping my clothes off right away. Don't you think that is improper? I saw his shoulder was a bit bruised. Shut up, or there'll be something even more rude. My hands didn't stay idle. I forcefully pulled his clothes open to expose his shoulder and applied medicine to the bruised area. How could you possibly be more rude? I don't believe it. He still refused to admit defeat. I wanted to continue bickering with him, but seeing his face turn red, somehow, I blushed too. A few days later, Song Feiyan came running over in a rush to tell me that Su Xian had been taken away by the Prince Su's residence. Su Xian was actually the child of Prince Su's concubine who had been left outside. Once the princess consort died, the concubine took charge of the residence, and only then did she seek to bring back her daughter. I recalled that stunningly beautiful woman. She finally had backing now. As Prince Su's flesh and blood, she naturally had the qualifications to marry into the Marquis of Wuning's residence as his legitimate wife. This way, Song Boyan and she could be considered to have achieved a proper union. Not many days later, Prince Su's concubine widely invited the nobles in the capital to a banquet, introducing Su Xian as Prince Su's adopted daughter. She had been conferred the title of County Princess Xian, and had already been recorded in the imperial clan registry. However, the marriage between Song Boyan and Su Xian did not proceed as I had guessed. The Prince Su's residence rejected the Marquis of Wuning's marriage proposal. Sigh. My brother tried to steal a chicken but ended up losing the rice, and now the chicken has flown and the eggs are broken too, Fayan said carelessly. It took me a while to realize that the flown chicken she was talking about was me, and I poked her ticklish spots hard. Song Boyan wanted to have both a wife and a concubine but failed, and ended up all alone. Su Xian suddenly became the most sought after noble lady in the capital. At a banquet she came to find me. "Miss Jiang, I used to really envy you. Everything I struggled for but couldn't get. You had from the moment you were born. I desperately wanted to be Song Boyan's concubine just to live a stable life. Yet you casually broke off the engagement with him, and refused the position of his principal wife. To win you back, Song Boyan ignored me, standing there on the verge of tears, begging you to reconcile, saying he'd set me up somewhere outside and bring me into the manor after the wedding. My heart was nearly shattered. I even hated you back then." Her face held the calm of someone who had weathered countless storms. Later, my carriage overturned, and I was huddled by the roadside in the rain. "You took me into your carriage. I thought you would mock me, but you didn't. You took off your cloak and draped it over me. At that moment, I felt so ridiculous. What right did I have to hate you, to escape my shameful family background? I single-mindedly wanted to be your fiance's concubine, and treated you as my imaginary enemy. Yet your eyes looking at me held only pity." I listened to her quietly. Fortunately, heaven favored me. That embarrassing carriage accident led to my mother's nanny recognizing my birthmark and finding me. Do you know, after the Prince Su's manor took me in, Song Boyan never mentioned taking me as a concubine again. Every time he sought an audience, it was to request a formal betrothal. How laughable. When my status was lowly, I had to beg pitifully, using a life-saving grace, just to become his concubine. Now that I am a noble lady of the royal family, he immediately offers a grand betrothal to marry me. The karma here is chef's kiss. Boyan thought two women were fighting over his undeniable charm, but Su Xian literally just wanted a money and a roof. Once she got her royal title in the bag, she dropped him faster than a bad habit. The best part, the other woman telling our heroine, "He is trash. Don't take him back." We love to see women breaking the cycle of toxic competition and leaving the ex completely empty-handed. You refused him. "Don't you love him?" I asked. "I never loved him. I just wanted to live a better life. Before, I went to great lengths just to get him to look at me, only to enter the Marquis's manor and live without worries about food and clothing. Now, obviously that is no longer necessary." She looked at me and said seriously, "If he comes back to find you, don't soften your heart. He doesn't deserve you." I smiled. "I won't soften my heart. I already have someone I like. I also wish you to meet the right person soon," I said sincerely. After breaking off the engagement with me and being rejected by Su Xian, Song Boyan was quite depressed for a while. This day, Marquis Ningyuan's wife, Lady Bai, and Song Feiyan came to visit together. Lady Bai had worried so much about her son that she had lost quite a bit of weight. My mother felt a bit sorry for her and arranged for the kitchen to make some dishes Lady Bai liked, and even wanted to cook herself. Lady Bai was moved to a mess, and the two old sisters chatted with teary eyes. I was really afraid that Lady Bai might get muddled and bring up the marriage between Song Boyan and me again, feeling uneasy inside, until Lady Bai and her daughter had eaten and drunk their fill and headed back home. The thing I worried about didn't happen. I sighed at how pitiful Song Boyan had become now. Even Su Xian didn't want him anymore. Mother said, "Don't feel sorry for men. Feeling sorry for men will bring you bad luck. He brought this on himself. Can't blame anyone else." My relationship with Shen Fei was stable, and our wedding was set for next year. Not long after Song Boyuan heard the news, he pulled himself together and started pursuing Suzian. Now the two of them had switched roles, the tables had turned. I was also happy to listen to Song Feiyan tell me gossip about how her brother was chasing after a woman. Whenever I had free time, "All right, my beautiful book club, let's spill the final tea. Have you ever heard truer words than what Xuaning's mom said? Feeling sorry for men will bring you bad luck." I need that on a bumper sticker immediately. This story hit all our favorite sweet spots because it is a lesson in knowing your worth. Xuaning didn't fall into the trap of the cool girl trope. When her boundaries were crossed, she walked away. Boyuan weaponized his gratitude to justify bringing another woman into their home, completely ignoring his loyalty to his actual fiancée. He thought he was the main character, but he ended up being the clown of the capital. Meanwhile, our girl leveled up to a man who adores her and hands her the prize without making her beg no. I am dying to know your thoughts. Did Boyuan actually love either woman, or was he just obsessed with his own savior complex? The plot twist. What did you think of Suzian's royal reveal? Did you forgive her after she secured her bag and warned Xuaning? The general, are we officially adding Shenfei to our top-tier fictional husband roster? Drop your answers in the comments, hit that like button, and subscribe so we can dish on more historical romance novel next week. Stay fabulous, ladies.